feel like Kobe in the fourth quarter.
This is the Dane Moore NBA podcast. We are brought to you by Prize Picks. Coming to you Thursday evening. It's February 5th. I've got Britt Robson here in studio with me, and we got no shortage of things to discuss. I was thinking about asking you to do a two-part episode, but we did the one with Kyle in the morning. Listeners, if you haven't listened to that, it was genuinely an immediate reaction from Kyle and I to the Ayo Dosunmu trade. Had the day to spend a little bit more time digging into that. I know I'm excited you're here, Britt, because sitting with you at games for a long time, I know Ayo's been a favorite player of yours. There's a bunch of wrinkles to that trade, both trades that we got to get into. Dillingham's gone. Should touch on his tenure, if you want to call it that. Leonard Miller, too, to a lesser extent. He's also out. The Mike Conley trade that sort of made this all possible from a money standpoint. Talk about some maybe buyout guys. The Wolves have 2 open roster spots. And then, like I was saying to you a couple minutes ago, I would like to talk about some of the other moves that went on around the league, specifically in the West, that make, tighten the competition in the Western Conference. Julian Phillips is a player, too, that's now on the Minnesota Timberwolves. We should
whoever he is.
Yeah, we should talk about him as well. I started watching a Bulls game this afternoon while I was waiting for you to come over. Thank you for being here. You ready to jump into this?
Yeah, sure.
Well, okay. Let's put the trade deadline together.
Right.
There's the 2 trades that happened. The Mike Conley trade that was funky, that didn't bring anything back to the Wolves from a player standpoint. And then, obviously, the Ayo Dosunmu trade that sent out Dillingham and Leonard Miller. So if we put that all together, which I think is the right way to look at this, because it was just functionally jumping through loopholes. Right. Doing both deals with Chicago. But the Wolves trade Rob Dillingham, who had 2 more years left on his rookie contract. They traded Leonard Miller, who has a cheap team option remaining on the final year of his contract next season. The Wolves traded Mike Conley, who is on an expiring $10.5 million contract, but has now been waived by the Charlotte Hornets and is free to re-sign with the Wolves or any other team. And I know that's to some extent been in the works. I expect it to happen. The Wolves also traded a first-round pick swap with Detroit this summer in that initial Mike Conley trade. You can think about that as if the draft were today, the Wolves would have the 23rd pick and the Detroit Pistons would have the 29th pick. Right. That's going to be the swap. That's not nothing. That's 6 picks back in the first round. And then the Wolves also traded 4 second-round picks, 2 bad ones coming up in 2026 and 2027, and then 2 potentially good or mediocre ones, maybe in the top 40 in 2031 and 2032. For Ayo Dosunmu, who is on an expiring $7.5 million contract, but a player who the Wolves can now re-sign in the offseason now that they have his bird rights. And then Julian Phillips, who's same contract as Leonard Miller, cheap team option remaining on the final year of his deal next season.
Did they have to include him to make it work, or was that just something either they asked for or the Bulls stipulated?
So I asked about that today, and Phillips wasn't viewed as a negative, but I think it was both teams preferring the
just
swap.
Trying to even the deal.
You remember when when the Wolves got Jared Vanderbilt from Denver and Keita Bates-Diop went there? It was it was just kind of like 2 random minimum contracts thrown into a trade.
Right.
But it was those 2 teams being like, the Wolves were like, we could use Vanderbilt more, and the Nuggets
turned out to be a nice deal too.
Yeah, right. So I've heard that about Phillips, and there's actually some intrigue there. Defensive upside. I think the term that was used to me, the adjective was glistening. Reviews on his background, intangibles, character, those sort of things.
Right.
I don't know much about him. I think maybe we'll get a chance to see him. He could be maybe like a young guy in the Terrence Shannon mold. Sorry, he's only 22 years old. Maybe next year when they don't have this 26.
Did he go to where did he go to college?
I went to college, and I was looking that up
That's
before. Right. I have him right here.
Well, I don't know it, so.
He went to Tennessee.
Okay.
But yeah, he's a little bit of a black box in this. Obviously, the main thing is acquiring Ayo Dosunmu. I just wanted to throw out everything
and the
that
trade
went into
exception.
That.
How are we on that? Do we know?
They could use the NA trade exception, which was for $7.58 million that they by doing. Remember, they turned Nikhil into a sign and trade to Atlanta. That created a $7.5 million trade exception, which happens to be exactly what Ayo
And
makes.
does it expire soon?
Yep, you can only use that
For a year?
For a year.
Okay.
Additionally, you can only use a trade exception if you're under the first apron, which
Right.
the Wolves got under
That's
the first
Conley
apron
deal, right?
by trading Conley. And even if they don't use this trade exception to finalize the trade, the Wolves took back more money in the second trade with the Bulls
Right, you
than
can't
they
do
sent
that.
out.
Right,
and you
right.
can't, so they had to get out of the first apron to do
Right.
this, which means they had to do the Conley trade, which means they had to let Conley go at least temporarily, and they had to throw in the first round pick swap with Detroit, which is not nothing. And 4 seconds isn't nothing either, even if two of them are bad. Like, there was a real price paid here. And we weigh that against what we think Ayo Dosunmu brings to the Wolves. What do we think Ayo brings?
I really like it. First of all, it fills a specific need without blowing up the roster, as a Giannis deal would have done. What I do like about the Conley trade is it could have helped in any Giannis deal. It wasn't that, I could see how maybe they wanted to wait a little bit, because you never know when, getting under the first apron, first of all, and secondly, having, extra money to work with is going to be good for you. And so I thought it was a prudent deal. It definitely signaled, when you getting rid of Mike Conley, even if there was this kind of convoluted process by which he may now come back, that is, you're clearly meaning to make some kind of move on your roster. And that was a clear signal to the fan base and the rest of the league that the Wolves weren't done. And so I think that was helpful.
There was a little bit of a pump fake. It was kind of like,
Well,
you didn't know.
I think for people who, it got people excited. But you know what? As with the KD thing, I don't think that's necessarily bad. I said this the other day. Tim Connolly, it's not bad to have a reputation of being thoroughly known as somebody who is going to pursue every avenue. Just, he's out there kicking the tires rather than saying, I don't need that car. Which one do you want as your GM? Certainly, I think Giannis, far more than KD, was a player that is a difference maker in some way, shape, or form. I wrote a column and said I didn't think it was worth what I was pretty sure it was going to take to get Giannis. And I'm glad to see it didn't happen for that reason. If they had been able to avoid losing Jade McDaniels and or Naz Reid, great, but that wasn't going to happen.
Right.
So bottom line, Ayo gives you a defensive presence. I was really pleased to notice what a strong uptick. It could be an outlier, but his three-point shooting has been fantastic this year. I looked him up on cleaning the glass. I'd done almost all eye tests. I hadn't really looked at his stats. Cleaning the glass flipped him from a combo guard to a wing. So his percentages were all over the map. But very strong as a three-point shooter, strong in a lot of other areas. He's actually finishes at the rim well.
Really well.
He's a much better offensive player. I liked him for his defense, and I always thought, as long as he can shoot a medium amount, then he'd be fine. And seeing both his finishing at the rim and from behind the arc this season, again, it may be an outlier. It's not been his career pattern, certainly from three-point territory, but that kind of defense and that kind of, he's an energy player. It's very obvious when he's on the court that he digs in, and nobody who watches the Wolves can fail to notice that is needed on this team. Somebody who's ever ready to dig in. I think it gives him a really good contrast with Bones. If you want to get pace and offense into your second unit, you put in Bones. If you want to get a little bit stingier, springier, rougher kind of five out there, you bring in Ayo. If you want to save your starters a little bit more for whatever reason, you put them both in at the same time. They can both be in a backcourt together. Ayo is, I think, 6'4", 6'5", certainly capable of taking the off guard in a matchup. So there's flexibility there. And that's actually for the price. And then throwing in on top of that, that he's an expiring, so that you have a chance to set what you think is the value for him. The contract isn't settled for you, and he has a chance to indicate to him, to the organization, what he wants with the organization. If he's not going to be happy here, then okay, it's a rental. And
I gotta think the likelihood that it's a rental is low, and that some of these things have been discussed, if not strongly estimated. And the Wolves should very well be able to
accommodate it.
Yeah, to accommodate it without going over the second apron.
Well, and then the question then becomes, because Bones is expiring too at 2.
That's a good
point. So,
point.
in other words, you may have to choose.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, I think it'd be an interesting choice. I mean, we haven't seen Ayo on the Wolves,
right?
But
yeah,
I mean, so anyway,
that's a good call. I'm glad you brought that up.
All that is to say that the Wolves are a lot better roster right now, I believe, than they were 24 hours ago. I think that it was kind of a shame that, Mike Conley's rep got dinged, but I think it was already, when I wrote a piece about him, assuming he wasn't coming back, I wouldn't take back a word of it. I would be happy with Mike Conley getting marginal time only, and only then when you want to settle a team down and put some composure in it. He's had some games. He was a plus 18 for the Wolves on the floor as recently as 3 or 4 games ago. He's not. I mean, you read social media, you would think the guy is a dead man walking. He's got some value. I wouldn't be the first to say, but I'd be among the many to say that he's not the player he was even a year ago. But if he comes back, his presence in the locker room is certainly not going to hurt anything. It's going to help some people, I think.
It jeopardizes Bones a little bit. That's the downside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess that's true. It all depends on what Finch wants to do. I mean, and Finch is out there. Finch is hanging 10 on some of the stuff. Not playing Berenger, playing Conley as much as he played him. These are all open to scrutiny, I think. His rotations are kind of open to scrutiny. If Rob comes through for the Bulls, I think that will be an interesting, referendum on how he was treated here. I happen to believe that Rob was not treated well, but Rob also did not flourish in the chances he did have. So I don't think either side really comes off well in that particular relationship. And for that reason, I think that it's a good departure. I also really like the idea, I tweeted this out, or blue skied it out, or whatever you call it, that you've got a Pobo who admits his mistakes and gets off his mistakes, and works with the head coach. And he's already a very shrewd guy. For those two things to be also part of his personality, I think is admirable. And I think that's good to have a guy like that in a position. I think Tim Connolly, we know what he talked about Dillingham like after he drafted him. And he was obviously over his skis on that. But at the same time, it was sincere. He really, really liked him as a player out of the draft. And
I just want to make sure if we're giving him credit for getting off of it, which you are here, but just to hammer it home, like for giving him credit to getting off the mistake early, we do need to acknowledge that it was a mistake. It proved out to be a mistake in these first 2 years.
Well, I mean,
I'm just saying that to the people. To the people.
Yeah,
I think I know you know that.
Rob Dillingham wasn't screwed.
Yeah.
And Chris Finch did not use him perfectly. Two things can be said at the same time. So, and what Bones Highland has given this team, the numbers speak for it. The eye test speaks for it. I was one of the people who was a skeptic of him when he first got put back in the rotation. I continue to believe that pace is a really positive. It's a catalyst for this offense. Conley he cannot play with pace. He never was a real pace guy. The Grizzlies were never that way. The Jazz were never that way. Playing with Rudy and Ant were never that way. Bones put pace in the game, and that's been a a catalyst and a good thing for people like Nas out there. So the point being, and he was better at it than Dillingham was at it, you know, quite frankly, and he deserved those minutes. So yes, to close the chapter on what I'm saying about what it took to get Ayo, I think Leonard Miller, his expiration date was long past here. There's been a passel of power forwards that have come and gone here, and he remains, I think, fourth on the roster in terms of being a power forward. So
yeah, tough spot to come into where you were just always behind.
But
so
never
many
really making a case why you should be any higher. And certainly it would have been hard. You're not going to be better than Nas, Reed, Julius Randle, whatever. So good, another chance on his career at a year left. The Bulls can see what they have. Dillingham, the Bulls can see what they have. He won't play ahead of Giddey, but he'll probably get more rotation minutes than he was getting here.
Yeah,
I know. It's a crazy, weird team right now. And then the 4 seconds, second round picks. We've seen, second round picks can be worth something. I'm just happy with the idea that they have greater flexibility. I think they're a better team on both sides of the ball. I think they have more options, and they are not cap killed. They are not having to totally rethink their rotation. Their continuity, the in-season continuity, not the year-to-year continuity, but the in-season continuity is happening more. It's just, in my opinion, the right move. It's the move I would have made. I said status quo or minor tweak. The tweak that I thought was most necessary was to get a bench piece that could give you some floor generalship and give you some ball handling and give you some perimeter play at both ends of the court. And that's exactly what this guy is.
I want to circle back to the two things you brought up at the beginning, the defense of Ayo and the three-point shooting of Ayo.
Yeah.
Because I think both of them exaggerate stories. Like 45% from three this season is
not sustainable.
Is great. I mean, he has one other year in his 5-year career that he's been over 40%. The other three were in the 30s, twice in the low 30s. I mean,
there's always some volume to this, though. It's like over 4 games.
No, I mean, what I wrote down is it's Jaden. It's literally like Jaden. This is Jaden's second season over 40%. Yeah. Jaden's at like 45.4% right now. Ayo's at 45.1%, and they're both shooting out of their minds compared to that's Jaden's 6th and Ayo's 8th. I looked it up earlier today.
It's amazing.
But Jaden has 2 seasons. This is his second season over 40%. The other ones were like mid to low 30s. It's kind of like the same thing there. You're glad to have it. It's clearly trending in the right direction. The player looks significantly more confident taking them, but it's not something you're taking to the bank with Jaden either. Like if we had to do the over under on Jaden's 3-point field goal percentage next season, are we setting that at like 38? Like I don't think he's a guarantee to be 40 next season. I'd say the same thing with Ayo. And then the defense goes the other way. Where this, if you look at defense,
he hasn't been his best defensive year.
No, and but it's 34th percentile this year, which, and my kind of point of this is I'm not sure any of these numbers meet the eye test.
No, I get it.
Playing with Vucevic, I mean, that's a very different drop center, Vucevic versus Gobert.
Right.
I think in a better construct, he could have better statistical output. But the numbers are a little jarring. 34th percentile in defensive estimated plus minus this season, and 5th in the bad way, defensive estimated plus minus last season. He's 50th the year before that and 73rd percentile in the 22-23 season, which means it's been 3 seasons.
I did not know he was 5th percentile last year.
I don't, and again, I mean, I'm not watching every Bulls game and following him.
But I mean, we don't, and he comes off the bench anyway most of the time. But you do, I mean, if you watch a Bulls game, he will, you'll see him if you watch him for even like a quarter or a half. He's, he's probably like between like 20, 25 minutes a game, I would think. He's right in that regular rotation minutes. But the point being, I don't see a lack of effort from that.
I don't either.
I mean, I whenever I've watched him play, He's a good chase defender. He's a sturdy on-ball defender.
Thick.
So
yeah.
But you're right. I mean, those are actually really good counter-argumentative numbers to bring up.
Yeah, and again, and I don't know. I mean, this is just what I'm coming in with. I watched him shoot 25 threes earlier today.
I was coming in. All right, he's great on defense. Oh, he's a really good three-point shooter.
Right.
And so, and you're right. What you're saying is accurate. The numbers could be ephemeral.
Right.
Both ways.
He's probably not the 8th best thrippoint shooter in the NBA, and he's probably not the 200th best defensive player in the NBA. And that's why these numbers.
And I am far more certain of the latter than I am the former.
Yeah, right.
I mean, for all I know, he's found the stroke, and boom, the next thing you know, it's a steal.
All right, let's grab a break. I'm going to do this one live, actually.
Okay.
We're going to be at Falling Knife on February 13th. Britt and I are doing a live show at 7 p.m. We do a happy hour the hour before that. I'll kind of be setting up. Britt will be there hanging out. We'll be hanging out there for the night, but show starts at 7. Get there at 6 o'clock. I would recommend getting there a little bit earlier because we are going to be inside, so there's not just like infinite space or seating available. Come early. Io will have played a game or two by then. This is during the first weekend of All-Star break. It's actually like the rookie sophomore game, Rising Stars, whatever they call that, is going to be on. It's that night, the night before the dunk contest and 3-point contest and all that. But yeah, we're going to be hanging out there. We're going to do a live show from like 7 to 8 p.m. At least half the time we'll take listener questions live there. We'll have an extra microphone for people to come up and ask those. And yeah, as we've said multiple times before, these nights are always fun. Falling Knife, takes care of us, takes care of the people there, and it's good beer.
No, it's I've said this before. I mean, first of all, the beer is really good. And a variety of good beers. Their lager is, I'm not a lager guy, but boy, it goes down well. Their pale ales, I think I just got some Hidden Temple the other day out of a store. First time I'd seen it. It must be put in cans seasonally or something. It always seems to be there when we're at the bar, but I never could find it in the store. I found it in the store the other day. It's just slightly behind Verbal Tip, which is my favorite beer, period. So they make good beer, and the vibe is good. The owners are diehard Wolves fans, and the crowd is a real nice mix of people who are at everything Wolves related and people that, every now and then just come out very occasionally, or maybe it started watching the Wolves not that long ago. It's a nice wide swath of people. We take as many questions as they want to give us for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
And, I would think on balance, the caliber of them is really good. At the very least, it's great to be able to tweak our format a little bit. Instead of talking to each other, we wind up answering the other person, and in some ways, sometimes debating each other, sometimes expounding on each other's point. But it's that third dynamic of an outside questioner is a nice little change of pace from what we usually do. So I like it a lot. Yeah, no, it's always a blast. If you've never come to a live show, hopefully this one works to make happen, because it is a Friday night. I'm kind of glad we're doing it at the beginning of All-Star break. Normally we do this one right before everything comes back, but it'll be, a fun way to kick off All-Star weekend, February 13th, 7 p.m. live show at Falling Knife Brewing Company, 6 p.m. happy hour before that. Falling Knife Brewing Company, Northeast. Be hungover for Valentine's Day. That's our motto.
Okay. Should we go into Dillingham a little bit? Yeah. Just, I don't know. I don't even know what the term is here. He got very little opportunity in his time in Minnesota. Did not do much with it, like you said. But I think it needs to be factored into the price here. Not to pour cold water on the trade overall. Right. That, we're intrigued by and think will help this team this season. Phil definitely fills a need. But it's not long ago that the Wolves traded an unprotected 2030 first-round pick and a 2030 pick swap to acquire Rob Dillingham. Yeah. That is a serious amount of draft capital. Think if they had that right now,
Right. 2031 first rounder, 2030 swap.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I don't know if this is exactly true, but if that trade never happens and the Wolves have that 2031 unprotected in that 2030 pick swap, who knows how close this Giannis thing ever was to a finish line, but
Right.
that's, you know, that's some gas in that was not put into the tank.
True.
In that. So I would contextualize it in
And
that
there
way.
were point guards, backup point guards that were, you know, Jace likes to mention that he was a Tyler Kolek guy early in that draft. And I do remember, I don't follow the draft that much, but I remember saying Tyler Kolek seems like, you know, looking at their draft position, which back then was not in 8th, I think it was way back end of the first or beginning.
Well, it would have been the TJ pick, 27th.
Yeah. Okay, 27th, right?
Yeah.
I figured Kolek could be right around there. And he, you know, from what I saw, he looked like a solid classic point guard, which is what he's actually turned out to be for the Knicks.
And some other point
Tim
guards
Connolly
later.
was, I mean,
Yeah.
we haven't seen him that gushy right out of the box about a player. I can't remember that happening before.
Right.
He was ecstatic. And he wasn't even that way about Beringer. That was more Matt Lloyd. I mean, he was big on Beringer, but Matt Lloyd was the gusher about Beringer. And so it was one of those things where if Tim Connolly has a weakness, it's for hoopers. It's for guys who like to get buckets and playground ball. You know, he grew up in Baltimore, really has a thing, you know, for the, I think it's the DMV area, hoops hotbed, and he's proud of where he came from. And people who have that DMV style of play, which is, you know, hoop basketball, Bones is that way. Dillingham fit that very much in Kentucky. And so I think that it was a case of an obvious need. Where was the bridge going to be? You know, Mike Conley, how are you going to get to the next level? Or the next starting point guard with Mike Conley on the wane, although not nearly as much now as now. It was a reach and it was a mistake. Ironically, we don't know yet whether the bigger mistake was drafting him or trading him. I mean, if the Bulls turn him around and he becomes a really good player, then Tim Connolly's reputation as a trader goes down and his reputation as a drafter goes up. So I do think 5'10" and $160, which I really think is what he is, despite height, weight measurements we always get.
Yeah, he might be six. He's 6 feet, but it's just a small 6 feet.
And
not long.
He's got a great first step. I've always said he's got a really good NBA first step. And I think he willed himself into being 40 to 50% defender, which is, I mean, if you watch Trae Young play or some of the other people who are of that body type, it is very, very hard to come into the league. First of all, make the jump from college to the pros. Secondly, suddenly going against guys who are routinely going to outweigh you by 30 or 40 pounds and are nearly as quick, if not quicker or as quick as you are. And to be able to have to deal with that in something that isn't your thing, which is defending, moving your feet against bigger, faster, stronger players. I thought he showed a lot of moxie, really working hard to be somewhat of a defender. And that is, as it turns out, the one place where Finch's respect for him was both earned by Rob and a credit to Finch for at least acknowledging that much. But the amount of times that you could tell by the way he went to the hoop, he thought he had beaten the defender and was just being almost casually blocked. Those were red flags, I think. I think that his 3-point shooter came and went a little bit, but I think it could have been, I think he can be an NBA 3-point shooter. I don't think he's a liability there if he works on it. But I do wonder about, he's fast enough to get to the cup, but I watch Bones, who's a little bit taller, has a little bit longer wingspan.
A lot longer wingspan. That makes a difference at the rim.
Gets around that same thing. I think that those two things, I mean, literally, you can't teach size, and that size hurts you. If your quickness, if you think you can do something and you suddenly realize that you can't, and it isn't even necessarily something, he has to abridge his drives. He has to learn a pull-up more. He has to learn different, the old Berea stop and go. He needs to learn something to get to the rim successfully.
It needs to be a little more crafty and additional to shifty.
Right. And one more thing I will say about him that is not complimentary is you got the impression that he felt, because of his draft position and because he came out as a fairly ballyhooed prospect, he was considered. It wasn't a surprise he was taken on the lottery when he was taken. So there was a little bit of entitlement that you saw, especially when he wasn't getting time. He didn't. Garbage time is a really hard thing for a guy in his position to deal with. But his garbage time, he had stopped trying to create for teammates, and the last 4 or 5 times he was out there in garbage time, he was just chucking. And that's when you just say, all right, both sides really are not interested in this.
And probably by that time, he knew the writing was on the wall.
Yeah.
But
again,
trade deadline. Yeah.
Even if you know the writing is on the wall, that, you bide your time, you look as good as you can look, and that wasn't it. That wasn't a good look at the end.
Yeah. And I do get some of that as a
20 years old. 19.
No, but you're right. It's a real thing. It's a real thing. Let's go back to his draft night, June 26th, 2024. Because I think that date is important. And also the fact that we remember the Wolves are in the second apron on that night, which means they have the rest of their roster to round out or add to, and their only means at that time to add a player in free agency was a minimum. Right. So, and this is the first year of the aprons that we still don't completely understand.
Yeah, good context, right.
But it was the other way, other than adding a player for the minimum for $2 million or whatever, was you could add a player for over $2 million so long as you drafted them. That was your way to spend more into the second apron. So they go, well, we're keeping the 27th pick because that's an avenue to get a player better than a minimum level player, and that's where they took Terrence Shannon Jr. But they additionally went up and traded for Rob Dillingham with the idea that, hey, this team really not only needs a bridge, like they're on a bridge to their next point guard.
They needed a backup.
But they kind of, they needed it that year. Last year, it seemed on June 26th.
Because that was before the Ragu trade.
Right? Yes. And then 3 months later, Karl-Anthony Towns.
After Summer League.
That's a good point. After Summer League, where he was a little banged up, but did not impress.
Right.
They trade Karl-Anthony Towns for Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo, 2 players who initiate a ton of, collectively initiate a ton of offense for this team. When Karl-Anthony Towns initiated very little offense on the previous team. So this void of initiation, quote unquote, point guard play disappeared.
Right.
And so did the opportunity.
To the point where Mike Conley wasn't a playmaker anymore.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Mike Conley caught.
He caught a stray on that one. Right.
Right. They both did. Right. But it all goes down as a mistake. But I always try to think about mistakes of why did they happen?
Exactly.
And those are excuses.
The results are one thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's always easy to second guess.
Right.
At that night, I think what I will say is, and this is probably due to exhaustion and many other things, the mistake wasn't drafting him. The mistake was saying, when I was saying, he's small and, on defense, how are you going to protect? We're not going to protect him. We're going to throw him in the water. He's going to be fine on defense. And he's got a great playmaker. I mean, he was basically saying this guy is plug and play.
That's what Tim said on draft night.
Yeah. I mean, and again, it was a weak moment because he had gotten his desired objective. And as you say, it all adds up.
He
had a lot
off.
of things. Yeah. It's almost like he pulled an inside straight without realizing reality had four of a kind.
Right.
So, I mean, it was too bad that he was so gushy because we were ready for something
special,
bigger than we got. And so
it's a good reminder that sometimes, and I'm as big of a cap nerd, that as anybody, and I'm impressed by those sort of things where you find a loophole, but it's a good reminder that simply doing something crafty, while managing your salary cap is not in and of itself a win, know?
Right.
And the same could be said about this whole Mike Conley duck, dodge, dive, whatever the hell they just did, to be able to get Ayo and Phillips for Dillingham. And, I think that's a crafty move too, but it's more so you have to make crafty moves when pressed this hard against the cap in the way that the Wolves are. But making a crafty move doesn't guarantee it's going to work out.
And we'll get into this in a minute, I think. But all the other movement around this trading deadline, so much of it is clean up on aisle 7. I mean, it's it really is. Yeah. Okay, well, that didn't work out. So what are we going to get out of that? Or, whatever. True. I mean, Lonzo Ball, just to throw a random name out there. But there's a lot of people, all of a sudden, Ja wasn't moved. I mean, that just meant the market on Ja was bottom, basement.
It's just we're playing it a little bit different of a board game right now when it comes to the trade deadline, when it comes to the salary cap, when it comes to roster construction. That's
it is a natural progression, like a rat down a python or something. Is you have the first thing.
The head?
Well, I mean, the first thing is you're drafting and trading to measure the cap, and then you are drafting and trading to fix your mistakes within the cap.
Yeah.
I mean, it used to be that you could fix your mistakes a lot easier because you had more room.
Yeah.
And we're in the mistake fixing area now, which means that some pretty good players suddenly are not getting what they're worth, or some people are getting more than they're worth because they're being traded for guys whose value is falling off the table or whatever. It has made for a more interesting trade season, I think.
A more nuanced, a little bit more complicated. I mean, everybody is kind of, back in the day, like not even 10 years ago, there was not this many teams in the luxury tax because the luxury tax happens and then the aprons happen. Like everybody's up near
and then
the
Golden
luxury
State
tax.
say, hey, you know what? Rings and merchandising will handle all of that.
Right.
We'll buy everybody.
So everybody's playing that
and then
game.
You got Ballmer and all these other people, and you're going, okay, well, that can't. The salary cap will be meaningless.
Yeah.
It'll be like baseball where the richest teams will say, screw it, I don't care.
But now it's not. This is the corrective measure that they've put in place for it. And just to your point about the rest of the league, and to a point about the Wolves, is you kind of push yourself up to this level going into the season, all the way up to the second apron or whatever level you want to go to. And then you kind of read come the deadline. All right, are there ways for us to get back down below the first apron, maybe all the way out of the luxury tax, which a lot of teams did. And those are, I guess, quote unquote mistakes, because maybe you're now offloading a $10 million contract for a decently valuable pick swap like they did with Conley. But my point is, a lot of teams are not doing it. It's just, I want to.
Well, like Hunter, for example.
Sure.
Cleveland in general.
Yeah.
I mean, had the highest payroll going in. And I think they're still screwed in the second apron, aren't they? Are they beneath the second apron?
I don't know if they got
pretty
there.
High.
Yeah, they were. They're well over it.
So I'm just thinking they're just trying to save money.
They're trying to save money, and a lot of teams are simultaneously try to save money while also positioning themselves for next season.
Right.
The Zubats trade to Indiana, this. I mean, again, and the Wolves are an example of this. the trade deadline, as Bobby Marks says, is pre-agency. You know, it's the ability to go get some of these guys that, because everyone's playing in the luxury tax now, you don't just so few teams go into the offseason with like, we got 22 million in cap space. Like, who's available? You know, it's just not the game anymore.
Who will take $22 million?
Yeah.
And it isn't that simple anymore. Exactly.
I've been looking at Nas and Julius this summer. Like those markets don't exist. And then the team, for guys to get paid, especially like middling guys who aren't max players, middle of the pack guys like Nas and Julius. I mean, not middle of the pack, but above mid-level, but below the max.
The people who
they get paid from their incumbent team more often than not.
And also, they are not getting the money that people were getting 5-10 years ago. I mean, Gorgie Jang got as much money as Jaden McDaniels.
Today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks, and I think it is interesting to look at how the season-long odds move after the trade deadline happens. The Wolves now have the 7th best odds to win the championship, according to Prize Picks, 11-1 behind Oklahoma City, Denver, San Antonio, Cleveland, Detroit, and Boston. Not a big move for the Wolves there, and they're tied for the 4th best odds to come out of the Western Conference, only behind Oklahoma City, Denver, and San Antonio. Those are now things that you can wager on, even in Minnesota on Prize Picks. You can now wager on point spreads. It's Super Bowl Sunday. The Seahawks are -4.5. You can get in on that. There's always something going on at Prize Picks. You know the deal with the daily fantasy lineups. That's always fun to put together for Wolves games. But I've been looking over at the teams tab a lot, and I certainly will for Super Bowl Sunday for the point spreads. But there's also these futures in there for the NBA, for the NFL, and that's where you'll find the title odds there as well. Like I said, always something going on over at Prize Picks. If you don't yet have a Prize Picks account, all you have to do is put in the promo code Dane when you sign up. You'll receive $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. That's prizepicks.com or the Prize Picks app using promo code Dane. yeah. I mean, percentage of the cap. That's true. Or close to it.
And that's just and longer term. I mean,
it was a different collective bargaining agreement. We were playing chess then, and now we're playing checkers. We were playing Risk then, and now we're playing Boggle. You know, they're just a little different.
And what is impressive, and what I mean, I frequently come across not only as a Chris Finch stan, which I kind of admitted to a long time ago, but increasingly a Tim Connolly stan. I guess maybe it's just seeing competence is such a rare sight if you've covered the Wolves for a long time, but the contracts on this roster, if you look at their cap sheet, I mean, you can't disagree with them. You could say, well, somebody, isn't as good a player as they are in terms of what they are doing in the rotation, maybe, or something. But the money, the value next to the guy's name, not very many of them are like, you may not like Julius Randle, but Julius Randle at what, $30 million? Mm-hmm. Rudy Gobert, $35 million for one of the 3 or 4 best defensive players in the NBA. That's that's a realistic, not a generous assessment.
Nas
at what he's making,
22.
I mean, it's just.
Wouldn't it have been interesting if we would have got some leaked stuff about what those guys were worth on those contracts? Like if Tim was trying to accumulate draft picks and it came out, such and such team is would offer the Timberwolves X for Rudy Gobert. Right. That would have been interesting information. And I'm saying, to your point, I think those all 3 theoretically could be viewed as not just positive, but like get a first round pick positive. Right. Maybe. I mean, again, we don't know. I would like to have known.
What's crazy is it kind of works against them when they're trying to make a trade, because then you got to stack more of them. If you're going for a Giannis at $45-50 million, well, then all of a sudden, just 2 guys maybe not be enough. Maybe you need 2.5 guys because, Jaden's not making as much or something like that. It really is. I know that Randall and Jaden did make the match, but incredibly enough, Nas and Jaden for Giannis, he would have needed more, just even for the money there.
Well, it's the analogy I used earlier when I was on a different show was, it's like you play fantasy baseball, I play fantasy football. You text somebody, you're like, hey, what like what would it cost to get Christian McCaffrey from you?
Mm-hmm.
And they go, nothing. I'm not trading Christian
Right.
McCaffrey. And you go, so you're telling me if I gave you my entire team,
Right.
you would not do Christian McCaffrey?
Right.
And they're like, but because they would, if you
Right.
like to get the aggregate
That's why
value
how
of the
some
whole
those trades
roster.
have happened.
exactly. So
4 starters and 4 picks. Rudy
Right.
Gobert. Right.
yeah, and that's what would have had to happen
Right.
to get Giannis, which is first episode I did on Giannis was like,
and
that's
what
why it's
is-
not feasible.
What is interesting, I mean, we don't need to dig deep into the Giannis thing, obviously, since it didn't happen. But the
We got all
summer is
summer
going to
for
be
that.
very, very interesting.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about it a lot.
Not going away.
Down the road.
Yeah, because Giannis is under contract still for next season as well.
And both he and Ant have options in 27, 28. Is that
No,
right?
Antsy is 2 years after that.
Okay.
Okay. There's more time.
I think they're extension eligible, which is different than player option. Right.
Ant is technically extension eligible this summer. That doesn't really happen where guys sign him 3 years in advance. Jokic could have done that this year.
Right.
Like, and that'll become
That's
a conversation.
the greedy way out. Right.
Yeah, that'll be a conversation at some point this summer. Like, are the Wolves going to give Ant an extension? And they won't, because there's Ant will make
Right.
more money down the line
Right.
if he doesn't do it. And that's what Jokic did. And I cite Jokic because I think we know pretty well that Jokic is literally the number one guy who doesn't want to go anywhere else,
Right.
for the rest of his career, but for money reasons. So technically, yes.
And
Ant is
doesn't care about
extension.
the money.
Exactly. And Giannis is more reasonably extension
Yes.
eligible because it's just one
And
more
Cat
year.
was extended, wasn't he? Or was that a
No,
new
he-
contract? He
No,
was
that
extended.
was what made him a little upset, as he is technically extension eligible, but
But wasn't he extended by the Wolves? Or was that a new deal?
Oh yeah. Oh, you're talking about that? Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm saying
yeah.
he's actually extension eligible
I
again.
know,
I
again,
think.
right. He doesn't
yeah, yeah.
feel like he's being paid enough, or he feels like he should be paid that amount further down the line.
I think, and I
Yeah,
mean, that's what all the agents are going to say
Right.
and push for. But yeah, to your the broader point was, this isn't going away. This is going to be the last time we talk about Giannis potentially joining the Wolves, and the whole market is going to change come summertime when there are more picks available for not just the Wolves to trade
Right.
to the Bucks, but a lot of other teams are going to open up a lot more draft capital down the line that they can trade. The Wolves, I mean, today they could not trade their 2026 pick,
Right.
this summer's pick. They could not trade it away. They did the
Right.
swap thing, but they could not trade it away. That'll be eligible to be traded. It's going to be the 29th pick. Not great, but it's first. And then we'll have the 2033 unprotected
Right.
available to trade. So you add those two things on draft night to the coffers of what you could offer in a Giannis trade.
And here's another thing I like about waiting for the summer is the team, as presently constituted, has a chance to rebut the notion that they need a significant upgrade.
Sure.
But they also have a chance to prove that they lack the character or the overall depth of talent, or top end talent for that matter,
Mm-hmm.
to succeed. I mean, it really is what I like about all this Giannis talk. I mean, I staked the position
Mhm.
that having Ant, Jaden McDaniels, and Naz Reid together for 9 years, which could happen,
Yeah.
and have them all be under 30 at the end of that 9-year period is a really remarkable thing that may be a cherishable thing.
Right.
But the first step of that being proven or disproven will happen then in the next 30 games.
Right.
And I think that's a good thing. I think
It's good to have more
it's
time.
prove it or lose it. I mean, if Julius Randle doesn't fulfill Chris Finch's inflated expectation of him and be the kind of player that gets you, again, at least close to that promised land, well, there are two guys in the rotation that could use a little more usage and already proven they're developed to the point where what they only need now is more chances to be a second, third option than they get now. And so the pressure is on Randall to produce at both ends of the court, I might add. And the doesn't have that pressure. He's the straw that stirs the drink. But Jaden and Naz need to keep putting the pressure on the idea that threesome can be a championship threesome, can be the kind of
Playoffs will be big for that too.
dynastic thing that would be worth, parting with Randall and not going for a guy like Giannis. That is a great backdrop to have as we watch the rest of the season, I think.
I think so too. I think that's a great point. We'll get to see another playoffs with this roster. I think Nas has some demons to exercise in the playoffs and needs to show a little bit more playoff player.
I agree.
To Jaden's credit, he's always been better in the playoffs than he has in the regular season.
And Randall, if he does go up against a team that plays swarming pressure defense, needs to prove that he doesn't get sucked into a sabotage ISO game. And he needs to play defense.
I think there's a case to have made the Giannis trade right now, too. I struggled with the feasibility of it. I certainly struggled with how it would strip mine the rest of the roster.
Yep.
But if they would have made a trade for Giannis today, and it was a ridiculous one like that where they strip mine the roster, I would have said, in doing the both sidism of it, but the one side of it, I would have gone, what this means is they recognize that this roster as currently constructed is not enough.
Right.
And they took into account and put some merit behind the idea that, yes, we went to the Western Conference Finals 2 years in a row, but let's not pretend we didn't get a little bit of help.
Certainly the second year
on the way there. But even the Denver one, that Denver team, great series by the Wolves. But after the fact, we learned a little bit about that Denver team and that it was fracturing in 24. And I would have heard that, and I think it would have been a sober. I would have commended some of the sober analysis of that, of if they would have determined that they did not have enough to get to the promised land with Anthony Edwards, that they went and got Giannis for that. But to your point about the backdrop is that team, if they make that move and they go get Giannis right now, an injured Giannis with a calf, they're not winning the championship this year. Giannis and a strip mine roster this season would not have won the championship.
No.
So here we go. We got this backdrop.
Yep.
Jaden, Nas, prove it more. Julius, prove it more. Rudy, show what it is. You have a chance to go do it as currently constructed. And to me, that doesn't have a huge opportunity cost because I highly doubt an injured Giannis would have showed up here middle of February and came back maybe in March. And then all of a sudden, Anthony Giannis would have been combined together and we would have just been like, get Derek Fisher and Rick Fox. And there we go. It's Shaq and Kobe 2.0. I don't think that would have happened this season. Now, let's see how the rest of the season goes. Let's see how these playoffs go. And let's think about the idea of putting Anthony Giannis together for a full season next year. Talk about what that roster could look like overall. And maybe you have a case.
And for the record, as somebody argued pretty strongly against the Giannis deal, I always said it wasn't against Giannis. It was what was happening. If we were sitting here right now looking at an Giannis thing, I could very honestly say I'm excited to see how this is going to go.
Sure.
Because two close to generational talent, certainly the best players with the possible exception of KG on one side. I think Giannis is the greatest Milwaukee Buck. Kareem and Oscar didn't really stay for those years to do that. Putting those two guys together with whatever they had left was going to be, all I'm interested in is interesting hoops, and it would have been a kind of crazy, different kind of high-level hoops, but it would have been really high-level hoops. And I'm just into watching the games anyway. I actually think this current Wolves team, the way it is now constituted, is better positioned to win, as you do, than if they have Giannis now. But I also think that
that's maybe not true next year.
Maybe not true next year. And also, it's funny how, we weren't, you could look at the reality, 18 seasons, 36 years old, and say, okay, Mike Conley is destined for a pretty big drop. And that was logic. But I would have said, well, he hasn't really shown that much signs of it yet. I don't think we should say that right now. There's a lot of things like that can happen.
Yeah.
You know, who thought Jaden McDaniels? I always thought Jaden McDaniels, his future was never from outside.
Right.
Even when he hit 40% his rookie year, I thought those are just catch and shoot opportunities that he has worked to get himself in position. They're almost always wide open.
Agreed.
So
Different.
players wax and wane. It's one of the beautiful things about the NBA. You never know when somebody's going to be better or when somebody's going to be worse and what's going to happen as a result. And by the way, I will also say that this is a referendum on Chris Finch and what he believes his rotation, his best rotation is going to be. He is a guy who basically spat in the face of anybody who thought that Julius Randle didn't deserve to be in the rotation and came out of there
Starting lineup, yeah.
as a winner. Yeah, I mean, in the starting lineup, and is repeating it this year. I mean, is saying Julius Randle. I mean, Julius Randle had a pretty rotten game last night, and one of the first words out of Finch's mouth is the 2 offensive rebounds he got, which were very important.
Yeah,
but come on, you know.
Did you see that clip I posted about when Finch said he's the most important player?
No.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was an interesting actual answer from Finch. I'm not mocking.
I mean,
it.
I get the logic, but it doesn't hold up.
Yeah, he was just like he has the longest.
The reason he's the most important player is because Anthony Edwards creates his level of importance, creates Randall's level of importance. I mean, without Anthony Edwards, Julius Randle is not the top playmaker on the team. I guarantee you right now, he is not your point guard if he has nobody really to throw the ball to and nobody who is going to give the kind of gravity. I mean, he's not going to, if 2 people are on Ant and he draws a double team, it's a lot easier to be a playmaker.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's absolutely true. That helps him. I don't think Julius Randle's the most important player on the Timberwolves. He has the longest lists of different things that they.
I would argue he's not even second. I think Rudy is.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that as well. I don't know if it's necessarily going with that, but to the point of
we can go down all kinds of rabbit holes.
Well, that there's still some of this Julius Randle thing, despite his battle with figuring out his role here, Finch's battle with empowering Julius and maximizing that, which has largely gone really well. There's still more to be determined in the rest of this season, post-deadline and in the playoffs, of what is Julius Randle as your second or third best player on a team next to Anthony Edwards. There's still a ... there,
yes,
even if it's been good thus far.
And then, not only are the Jaden Nas, the presence of those guys and the fact that they're blossoming, they're both having their best season of their careers right now. But you've got Berenger, who all of a sudden, I got to tell you, on a team that sometimes is indifferent on defense, throw a 19-year-old kid into the game, and even the mistakes are hustle mistakes. A worst case scenario, you're getting development out of somebody who I think is, going to really help you down the road. And by the way, it sends a message to the guy who just got benched for 5 minutes. Yep. Hey, we got a guy who can play defense.
I think the Berenger not playing last night was about Toronto.
I know, but
that's important.
The lineup they have can be that way. But there were also times, if Toronto was running, Berenger is good in getting back in transition. And there were times where they were getting beat because of indifference.
Oh, I'm not arguing it. I'm team 3 bigs. Okay. I started the team. Yeah. It's my team. I like it. I'm saying the reason I think it didn't happen is because I've asked Mitch about it. It's the teams that have lots of off-ball movement, and that's the concern about putting Nas at the 3 so as to be functioning as a chase defender, and that's what it would have. Nas would have had to play the 3 for Berenger to have played 12 minutes last night. That's just you can't just say give Berenger the Jalen Clark minutes, right?
Right.
because the majority of the Jalen Clark minutes come alongside Rudy Gobert.
Right.
That's not a 1-for-1
But what
there.
about the Julius Randle minutes? What about 5 of Julius Randle minutes when he's a statue on defense?
I mean, I think Julius Randle's minutes are protected by Chris Finch. It's a fair argument to say something otherwise. I'm not sure if 5 minutes
Rudy
of Baron J is
and Rudy.
Yeah, you know,
I mean, how does that work?
I get it. It's a complicated puzzle, as it has been the whole time.
Yeah.
But I got a bunch of people text me like, no, like, because Mike wasn't there last night, and clearly Finch didn't want to play Clark that much, so it was really like just Nas and Bones off the bench.
Clark is flirting with Josh Minot territory.
Yeah, well, and now Ayo's here. I think Jalen is probably going to get moved into Josh Minot territory. You see, Josh got traded today too.
No.
Yeah, he's on Brooklyn now. I think that was a kind of one-off one there.
Oh, there you go.
But another example
right now.
I know, it's not always greener pastures. Today's show is brought to you by Surfshark, and let's talk about something that's probably more exposed than you think: your online data. I know I'm genuinely getting to the point where I'm like a little freaked out by how specific my ads are getting on my phone or on my computer, and that's where Surfshark's VPN comes in. It's your go-to solution for secure internet access. Surfshark creates a virtual private network that encrypts your entire internet activity, hiding your IP address and making your online activity invisible. I was using Surfshark's VPN when I was traveling at the airport. Prevents anyone from snooping on my data. Using Surfshark's VPN also allows me to access geo-blocked content. Again, on the road, I can watch games anywhere without being blocked out regionally using the VPN. But my personal favorite add-on is called Alternative ID, which generates a brand new online identity and email address for me to use. So when websites ask for my information, I give them the stunt double details, and my real personal data stays completely private. You get all that alongside a lightning fast VPN speed and privacy protection for unlimited devices on one single account, giving you the complete toolkit to stream, shop, and surf securely. Secure your privacy with Surfshark. It's completely risk-free with their 30-day money-back guarantee. Go to surfshark.com/DaneMoore or use code DaneMoore at checkout to get 4 extra months of Surfshark VPN. That link and code are in the show notes and episode description below.
Josh Minot is like an older version of 9 other guys on that roster.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, we're almost up at an hour. I do want to talk a little bit about non-Wolves moves.
Sounds good.
In the Western Conference. The Nuggets did trade Hunter Tyson. That was just to get below the tax, and frankly, I think that probably just helps them. And then they never have to.
Did you say the Nuggets?
The Nuggets traded Hunter Tyson. You're thinking Jalen Tyson.
I'm sorry. You're right. You're right. Sorry.
Yeah.
Got it. My mistake.
So, but my point is the Nuggets didn't make a big acquisition.
Right.
They shed some salaries.
Right.
The Spurs didn't make a big acquisition, and nor did the
Probably
Rockets.
so. Right.
So, I mean, those are the teams I'm looking at. I mean, not the Lakers got Kennard. That's something there, and the Lakers are in the Wolves tier in the standings at least.
Right.
But the one big one in the West was Oklahoma City getting McCain, and not giving up anything really from this season.
They got their draft capital.
Yeah, they got their and they let go
to throw a couple of the. They got a bucket full of fish. They threw a couple of fish out.
Exactly. They reeled in Jared McCain, who's a young piece on had a really weird sophomore season, but before he got hurt last year was a baller. I was texting with Jace about it, and I know everyone like, oh my God, how'd you let Presti do that and all that, and I understand
he's first round picks.
Well, for sure. I know my point is with McCain is I don't feel like I personally have seen enough of him, just because
the drop off this season, and the injury was significant enough to take him out. You never know.
Just the beginning of last year, he was incredible. And I just personally, I caught a couple of those games, and I was like, oh, this McCain kid's cool. But so I don't know. I mean, I don't want to, I'm not saying, my point is this doesn't totally, in my mind, put Oklahoma City on another level.
No, it isn't the same
for this season. What I like about it from the Oklahoma City standpoint is you're getting a guy on a
beginning of his rookie deal, second year of his rookie deal,
when they're about to get cracked by the second apron next season.
Right.
So if they can have a rotation player making like $4 million next year in Jared McCain, I mean, that's a big win that
And
allows
also,
them.
they don't have like a flamethrower from outside, really.
Oh, come on,
I mean,
my guy
Caruso-
Isaiah Joe.
Huh?
My guy Isaiah Joe.
Well, they don't utilize Isaiah Joe to
Yeah.
your capacity.
No, I
mean, and I mean, Dort can hit a three, Caruso can hit a three, Shea can hit a three, but I'm talking about a guy,
no, you're right. I'm joking.
And so, and also, I haven't seen anybody from OKC go there and get worse. They have a really good player development system.
Yeah. I'm thinking of the Gordon Hayward trade. I don't know if he got worse.
Gordon
He was
Hayward
just bad.
I mean, Gordon Hayward had
he retired
he
afterwards.
was like, he was Benjamin Button.
Yeah, that was that's true. So that one's interesting to me. Kennard to the Lakers, like I said. I mean, the Clippers have been on an incredible run from a record standpoint of late, and they trade away Harden for a
Harden
often
Harden
injured
was
Garland.
forced upon them, I think. I mean, that's the way I saw it.
What?
From what I heard about it, Harden was ready to leave.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, all of a sudden, and that's a hell of a consolation prize, Darius Garland. I think.
I did too.
And it to the point where, but the fact that Cleveland had to add the pick is telling. But the greater point is, having Harden and Zubac. What that tells me is, this investigation that will come out after the All-Star break is going to take Kawhi off the table.
Oh,
See, I think that, all of a sudden you don't have Kawhi.
Conspiracy-ish, but I like it. I get it.
I think that they know the league has been investigating. The league properly got just scoffed at for, we'll decide this after we have our showcase event there. This guy obviously cheated.
Yeah.
I don't care. The evidence, Pablo found out, and I think it's pretty open and shut. A lot of documentation. The league were cowards not to come right down on it, in my opinion.
Sure.
All this is my opinion. I mean, obviously the official version will come out, but I think the Clippers realize that there will be a penalty to be paid, and it'll be paid before the end of the year so that they don't suddenly win a ring. And then we find out, that was blatantly illegal what they just did.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to, throw Chauncey Billups off the league in the first 2 weeks of the season or whatever it was.
2 days.
Yeah. You're going to basically
Right.
have a situation where you can't let the Clippers glide path into something deep in the playoffs.
Yeah.
If you know that your investigation has to levy some kind of penalty. And I think Ballmer and his crew probably figured that out and said, let's get ahead of this before everybody sees that we're mortally wounded and, unload some people while we can. Harden may have speeded that decision. They may have thought maybe we can get away with it, but then Harden,
I don't know why I wasn't even. I mean, I've been thinking about the idea that they're going to get cracked down on after the All-Star break. I don't know. I hadn't put it together. I just kind of put them on my list of like teams just to cross off because they don't have Ivica Zubac and James Harden anymore.
Yeah,
like they're
now
just
Kawhi. I mean, who knows? Maybe
and even they can have
maybe
Kawhi
the
now.
whitewashing will continue. I mean, maybe the league will continue to be gutless and not do anything about this.
That's my point. Is like even if they don't do anything, the Clippers are no longer a team in. On
I would
the
think
ascent.
so. I mean, the Zubac deal is mind blowing. I mean,
they got some good firsts. I'm just saying.
And if Halliburton comes back even remotely healthy, I mean, I'd much rather have Zubac than Miles Turner.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. And so
great contract too.
And then you've got Halliburton, you've got Nebhart, you've got Naismith. There's 4 or 5 other guys.
Siakam, I mean,
Huff.
Hufflepuff.
No, but the point is, Carlisle, will be that'll be a really good team next year. And the Clippers, you're right, they have some draft capital now, and did you see it was like 1 through 4 and then 10 through 30?
Yeah. So if
So
it
they
falls
get
5
that
through 9,
pick if it's 5 through 9.
or if it's not 5 through 9, it becomes an unprotected 2031 pick, which is still valuable. Well, that's
but
the
I mean, a 5 through 9 this year is a nice plum.
That's why I said they're good picks.
But so nobody's going to be crossing their fingers harder.
I know
when the balls go up, the lottery balls go up than the Patriots.
There's a lot of finger crossers
at
this
getting
lottery.
like the second pick, and they have Zubac, and they have Halliburton coming back.
Well, that brings me to the last team I wanted to talk about, which is actually Utah in the West.
Utah's deciding it's a good team.
I'd say that to the lottery balls thing because they need to stay in the top 8 to keep their pick, which means to guarantee it, they need to have one of the 4 worst records.
They already have. I've always been a Walker Kessler guy. As soon as I saw him play, I thought, all right, he had a terrible sophomore season, couldn't figure it out. And the third year has been wiped out, obviously. But I saw enough in his rookie year to think this guy is a legit NBA center. And now you got Markkanen and Triple J. Markkanen is like what we dream of for Naz Reid, a guy who can be a 4, dominate as a 3, but also play the 4 and dominate as a 4 in a different kind of matchup. And they can toggle all 3 of those guys into different configurations. They can play them all, or they can, go different ways. And Keontae George, I'm not a fan, as you know, but the guy is a baller and he's good in the backcourt. They've got the makings of something going on there now.
Well, it's the makings of a team that I think is a little problematic for the Wolves in particular. Like Jaren Jackson Jr. is a problem for the Wolves as currently constructed.
Absolutely.
We've seen that the 2 games Jaren Jackson Jr. played this team this season.
And how many do they have left with Utah? 1 or 2? Don't they have 1 left?
Well, we'll see who's playing in any of those games. Right. Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even really think about. I mean,
we'll see Triple J again.
Unfortunately, Markkanen, they always struggled to guard. Yep. He's a tough guard for them. As someone they have to chase, but he has size.
Yep.
And then Keontae George
did he get 50? It was right there.
Oh yeah. Well, against the Wolves,
50 or whatever. Yeah,
it was 43, I think.
43. Okay.
I mean, Jaden is one of the best point of attack defenders in the entire NBA, but I've always said
he was unconscious then. Like George was unconscious.
He was unconscious. But Jaden's quote unquote weakness as a perimeter defender, I think, is small guards with speed. Tyrese Maxey and De'Aaron Fox are the examples we always use for that. And Keontae is approaching that.
Yes.
So I just thought it was interesting when I looked at that trade, and I was actually on my way to go get lunch with our friend Chris Harrington in Memphis. And I'm driving there and I get a call from him and he's like, they're trading Jaren. I'm like, all right, we're not getting lunch. I get it. But then I went back to my hotel and I'm looking at it. I'm like, all right, Kessler at the 5, Jackson at the 4, Markkanen at the 3, figure out something at the 2. I mean, or Ace Bailey at the 2,
right?
And Keontae George at the 1.
Yeah,
I don't like that.
Ace Bailey is I
don't like that.
He's got a chance. I mean, that could be a crazy offensive team.
I meant I don't like that as a Wolves opponent. It was what
and
my
also, I mean, if Kessler can be nothing but a great rim protector and let all these guys obviously Triple J is going to be a really good defender too. But if Triple J handles the mid-range and one side of the basket and Kessler handles the interior paint, then you're going to have to beat Utah from deep. And meanwhile, you're going to have to score a lot because that team can really put up points.
Yeah.
If Ace Bailey continues to develop. Now, I saw, a guy who was raw, and I didn't like his attitude around the drafts, pulling the old, I don't want to play for this team. I do want to play for this.
Steve Francis or something.
Exactly. Trying to remember the guy's name as I was saying that. You read my empty mind.
Vancouver.
But so anyway, it was that Utah trade was an Ainge announcement that we're not stuffing draft picks anymore. We're using draft picks to see what we can get.
And maybe not super relevant. Definitely not super relevant to this season. But I don't know. I mean, it's a shakeup in the West. I think the only other one I wrote down here, Porzingis to the Warriors.
I know. The Warriors are they're becoming a sad team.
Yeah.
I mean, they are. It's always hard, you know. I mean, when a dynasty goes, and it will be interesting to see, as I think 12 months from now, Steph Curry is a Warrior. I'd be curious to see if Steph Curry is a Warrior in 24 months.
Ooh.
Because I think that
when he's 39 or whatever.
Yeah, but I mean, the guy,
yeah.
Put it this way, maybe he's not going to be able to be a constant person in motion anymore. But if you get a couple of good screeners, that guy is going to be able to get 30 at age 40 on the regular. He's not going to lose that shot.
Yeah, yeah. Unless he's like Mike Conley.
Well,
Just kidding. No, I'm kidding.
Very different prototype.
That's true. I don't know. And anything else that maybe we brushed over too much with the Chicago deal, or from
How
the
many
deadline?
guards does Charlotte have now?
Well,
There's
not Mike
a
Conley
weird
anymore.
team.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like 7 of them. And didn't they get like
Well, Tyus then went to Dallas.
I know.
So he was in Charlotte for a minute there.
and Anthony Davis
Is in Washington. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, with Trey. I mean, weird. Dallas is rebuilding. You know, like
Anthony Davis and Trey. Oh man. I mean, you talk about yin and yang. What is that team doing? Are they a defensive team or an offensive team?
I
They
don't
got
know.
one of the best defenders in the game and one of the best offensive players in the game. And
I would
they
have
are
said 3
not
years ago, though,
competitive.
okay, that's cool. That balances out well. They play well off of each other offensively, protect each other, you know.
Well, one has tanked in terms of his overall level of play, and the other one can't get on the court.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I mean, there's a reason they got him for what they got him for. And it's Washington. You know, I mean, what was the last time the Wizards were like a team that you had to pay attention to? I mean, whenever I watch the Wizards, because they're playing a team I want to see,
Right.
you know.
Your other guy,
which isn't
Kaishan
to say. I mean, they have some. They've got a George who's very good.
Kaishan, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I actually think that guy, you pointed him out to me when I was saying, oh, yeah, I remember this guy. And you went, well, he's really good. And didn't take long for you to be proven right. That guy is a good player. So, you know, you never know. And maybe Anthony Davis, that guy, and whatever Trae Young is going to provide.
My take is, I don't care.
Right.
Like, go do whatever they're going to do over there
But
in the
poor
East.
Porzingis,
Yeah.
I mean, does he have some kind of crazy malarial disease or does he not? Does he, I mean,
Seems like it.
it's just this.
Unlikely
all I
to
can
be
say
a
is
needle
good
mover.
for the Boston Celtics. Man, did they
Yeah.
pull the trigger on that one at the right time?
Yeah, man, he was awesome in that final when he came back for that game. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
basically just kind of swatted down that entire front line of Dallas that Yulko had played so well with.
And then he would just stand at the elbow and they'd guard him with the small. He'd just shoot out over top people. That was awesome game. But yeah, I don't think that's much of a needle mover. I'm just scrolling through I put together way too many notes while I was sitting around here watching that. Phillips, I mean,
Yeah, I know nothing about Phillips.
yeah, and I mean, I know slightly more than nothing. Not viewed as a
How
negative.
tall is he?
6'6",
Okay.
wing. He looked. I watched him. He looked like. I was watching this afternoon. Kind of like a Derrick Jones Jr. build.
Okay.
A
Would
little-
it be insulting for him to go to Iowa?
Well, he's been in the league for 3 years, so like the same. He was
Yeah.
drafted 2 picks after Leonard Miller.
Okay.
In the same draft. Leonard was
Uh-huh.
33, he was 35.
Right.
And so that was part of the Wolves. The Wolves did their work on him,
Right.
and that was somebody they were interested in
Okay.
in the 23 draft. I was told that, you know, and he could play the wing and Lenny couldn't, you know.
Mhm.
Lenny was a big in that way. And yeah, like I said, another one of those Tim Conley good guys.
Right.
Is the
Right.
word, the
Character.
glistening intangibles and character.
Right.
So I was, you know, I mean, that matters. 22 years old. I talked about this in the summer when they were all the guys that they brought in kind of starting with Shannon. They're bringing in all these older players to their projects to be like 22-year-old plus guys. Even the two-way guys like Enrique Freeman, Johnny Juzang, like they're aiming at guys who are a little bit older and closer to being able to contribute. And I think Phillips is the same idea. So kind of using that 14th spot on the roster next season, maybe to treat Phillips like their second round draft pick because he's 22 years old.
Right.
You know, like he came out early, came out at 19 years old to the league, but you know, I think it could end up being one of those situations where I was kind of checking in of like, is he going to be on the team? Like, is he getting waived or whatever? And I wasn't.
And they like him.
That they seem to like him there. So, but I got to watch more because I was kind of like in my head, I'm like, all right, is Julian Phillips Dalen Terry or is Dalen Terry Julian Phillips? You know,
well,
like,
I know Dalen Terry at least.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? They kind of get crossed up in my mind.
And let's face it, there are a lot of athletic-looking 6'6" wings occupying the 11th, 12th places on many benches.
Yes.
You know, guys who sometimes a two-way guy plays ahead of them, sometimes he doesn't.
Sure.
Sometimes they get in among the final 5 for the 4 minutes of garbage time and look good.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they don't look good. I think that's the kind of player you find out what they're like in practice. And, you know, you hear reports about, okay, you know, I mean, this guy kind of like Bones apparently earned his second shot at the rotation and made the most of it because he was so good in practice for a while.
Right.
And, you know, you got to think when we don't understand a decision because we've only watched the games, we have to assume that whatever happens in practice, you know, they're doing things for a reason, a specific way, and they're looking for specific things. And if a player delivers that specific, their stock rises or falls.
Right.
If they don't deliver. So, you know, that's what we'll find out if Phillips sounds like he's a flyer, and it may.
Yeah, I think that'd be the right way to put it.
May pan out. It may not, but the fact that I would have been perfectly happy with that deal without him being included because I didn't know who he was. You know,
yeah. It probably won't work out like a lot of the other flyers, like Leonard Miller, like Josh Minot, you know, like these other guys who haven't got an opportunity.
It all depends. I mean, like Josh Minot was intriguing as hell. Leonard Miller has never intrigued me, quite frankly.
Well, and that's why, you know, just in a vacuum of Miller for Phillips,
right?
It sounds like Miller was the higher valued one in this trade, and like the Bulls wanted him.
And he could rebound. I will give him.
Yeah,
that.
I'm just saying, if I'm the Wolves and as little as I know about Phillips and what I kind of know about Miller, like, give me the wing. It's as simple as that.
I agree with that
because I think
that's the modern game.
Yeah,
Somebody who can get into
roster.
Somebody who plays 94 feet. You know, you can pressure, stop at the wing and pull up 3 in transition, or get to the cup against 2 defenders. I mean, that kind of wing. You know, a multi-purpose wing.
Saw him get to the free throw line. It was a nice little and one when I was watching the game before you came in here. He's kind of like what it was like Donovan Mitchell, like over the head gather sort of things.
That's
and
becoming a thing.
I know it's a good move. But then it was a finish and one. I'm like, okay, Julian Phillips. And then the ref gives him the ball at the free throw line, and Nick Keels his arms together for to shoot his free throw. I'm like, no. So we'll see where the shot is at there. But you know, maybe an intriguing defensive prospect. They seem to do that. And
let's face it. There's so many things on the list right now. I mean, you know, there's.
Make sure you're still kind in that microphone there.
Oh yeah, sorry. the point guard position and the way minutes are apportioned is going to be a fascinating thing to watch.
Yeah.
I had this conversation with Dante DiVincenzo when the bench scoring was just totally in the tank. And I remembered how much he, Na, and Nas were great doing that, and said, you know, if it came to it, how would you feel if you went back to a bench role? He said no comment, and he left the room.
Yeah, he was not happy with you.
Pissed. I think he was pissed
that
I even broached the subject. But I think it's a legitimate question, which is why I asked it, obviously. The point being, let's say Ayo gives you something in that spot, and you have enough firepower with the other 4 starters that you, again, have that dynamic of Nas and Ragu and maybe Bones off the bench. You know, then you have your 3 you have that injection again. You have that catalyst. Now, judging from, Finch is a vibes guy who wants his players happy. And from the, response to my question, I think that would ruffle.
Mhm.
So I don't think it's going to happen. But I think it's a legitimate point that
I hear what you're saying.
this team still needs, unless Bones gives you the 15 to 20 that he gives you on really good nights, as well as the pace and the playmaking, because the defense is always going to be suspect. You need somebody else besides Nas, and not as much in the playoffs, granted, but you will still need that chess move to counter if they're pressuring the ball. And I keep going back to Ragu's 6 turnovers on opening night against Portland's pressure defense. We're going to see Portland again. It'll be a really interesting reprise, because Portland still defends like that.
I just would inject one thing about the differences between Ayo and Dante is, well, you look at the 3-point percentage and Ayo's going to be at 45 and Dante's at 39 or whatever. And there's a different, they are very different types of 3-point shooters.
Agree.
So that would be the opportunity cost there.
He is a very effective outside shooter. No, I'm talking more about when you need ball handling.
Yep.
And not that Ayo is fantastic at it.
I don't think he is. That's actually one of the things to your wanting to watch the Portland game. I'm wanting to watch with the discerning eye of how much I trust Ayo's ball handling.
I agree.
Like I want.
That's how you'll find the return of Mike Conley.
Well,
if nobody else can,
And like I said, I wouldn't
bring
rule that out.
The social media people.
All right, man. This was fun. I think we touched all the bases. Got a game tomorrow. I'm assuming that will not be
New Orleans. Yeah.
Ayo's debut. Maybe that happens on Sunday against the Clippers. Could be. I guess maybe.
Are they home? Were they home the last game? I don't remember. But if they were home, it's a quick trip.
Well, they were in Toronto. They flew into Chicago, landed in Toronto.
Oh.
And so I don't know if Ayo got on
across the aisle.
I'm sure he probably needed to grab a couple things from Chicago there too. But I don't know when his first game will be. But our next pod. Well, I guess maybe we'll do it next week.
Well, today is the 5th.
Yeah.
The evening of the 5th. And the 12th is the final game before the All-Star break.
I think it's the 11th.
Okay. Is it the 11th? Yeah, I think you're right. So that's 6 days. You can live out of a suitcase for 6 days if you really want to make an impression.
That's true. Before the deadline, it's home Pelicans on Friday.
Yep.
Home Clippers on Sunday. Home Hawks on Monday. Home Blazers on Wednesday. 4-game homestand.
So one of the things is he can take his time and miss the first one and be ready for the other 3 or something whatever. Like or if he wants to make a good impression as a Beaver that's ready to go.
Who knows?
And frankly, they need a spark.
Absolutely.
It was a wonderful fourth quarter and great last 14 minutes last night, but the first 34,
rough.
Was just again a team that lacks character, and it's not what you want to say about a team that is at the very least trying to get out of the play-in and repeat as a conference finalist for the 3rd year.
Yeah.
There's a lot of work to do, and a lot of it needs to be from the people who are already there, but they make this trade for a reason, and if Ayo gives you that spark, sooner the better.
Well, that's why they had to make it, or that's why it made sense to make it, because it was starting to glare.
Absolutely. And a guy who plays hard.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you want to say about Ayo, if you watch him for a game, you say this guy plays hard.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
when Kyle and I recorded this morning, my whole thing was like, is this the Nikhil replacement? And I think in terms of archetype, it's
poor man's Nikhil, but
Nikhil,
you're right.
Yeah. It's a little bit worse of a defender than Nikhil, and a little bit worse of an offensive player than Nikhil's playing like in Atlanta.
And not as, I think he's a really good defender from what I've seen. It sounds like the numbers don't back that up all the time, but Nikhil was so brilliant at negotiating screens, and that's such a part of defense. And I don't have enough of an impression, I would think, but it's hard for me to imagine he can be as good on a pick and roll defense.
Well, I think this is
that's where Na was.
Yeah, great. I think this is what's fun after the trade deadline for writing or for doing podcasts of like just taking it in and watching closely and we'll discuss what we see.
Absolutely.
There'll be still a lot of season to come. He's Britt Robson. Appreciate you coming in, man. The next episode, I think, will be on Monday morning with Jace Frederick. We'll have the Pelicans game on Friday, whatever happens there to discuss. I think we're going to get the chance to talk to Tim Conley on the record, and then the Wolves play on Super Bowl Sunday as well. So on Monday morning, hopefully Ayo will have played his first game in a Wolves jersey, and Jason and I will be able to start breaking that down. Until Monday with Jace, a lot of episodes in here. If you're waiting over the weekend, you can listen to the one with Kyle from earlier today. But until Monday with Jace, he's Britt. I'm Dane. Peace out.
How I'm feeling, man, I hope it never stop, yeah. Green and hot so you can find me in the crowd, yeah. Don't let standards ever bring you down, yeah. Hope you dancing like